Today, what we're going to do is open up a nice big picture, and we will apply, this is my finished one, we're going to apply a puzzle effect. We're going to remove a piece of jigsaw, and then we're going to put a nice drop shadow to give some sense of perspective. And then what you'll do is drag your original one onto the one that you've changed. Give me a thumbnail effect, a before and after. So this is what we're going to do. 2 of them to do, folks. 2 to do. Right, first of all, because we've got this gray underneath, how do I get the gray? I need to duplicate the background. So what I do is Control J to duplicate the background, and then I click on the background, and what we'll do is go up to Edit and Fill. There we have it. Your software will probably default to foreground color, but what I want you to do is to pull down to 50% gray, and that will apply a gray fill on top of that background. And there we go. Now you didn't see it because we have layer 1 showing. Now you can see we have that effect. Okay. On layer 1, we're going to apply that nice puzzle filter. So go up to Filter and come down to Texture, and then Texturizer. Okay. Photoshop gives you only few that come ready loaded all the time. Other than that, you have to click on Load Texture and then go look for it. Well, it's in Local Disk C, and then the software is always in Program Files. Photoshop is Adobe, and then Photoshop 6. Almost there. Click on Presets, and then Textures. And finally, so I'll go through that again, Local Disk C, Program Files, Adobe. Whatever version of Adobe Photoshop you're using, I happen to be in 6 right now, Presets, Textures, that's us. And here is Puzzle. You get a few, and if you ever download them, you can buy them online. That's where you would put them, in this folder. Keep them all together. Puzzle, and then Open. So let me tell you a little bit about scaling. The lower the number, the more pieces of jigsaw you'll have. So I'm going to go over to 200, which means that it's more like a Sunday afternoon jigsaw puzzle that I could personally cope with. Now, the lower the number for relief, see, it's flat. There's no jigsaw puzzle effect. We scroll right over and you can see a really deep jigsaw puzzle effect. So we're going to go for somewhere between 12 and 16. I'll put it at 14. Okay. Direction, light direction. The direction on this piece is coming from the top, maybe from the bottom right. You can see it coming this way. They all have different effects. So when you're happy with it, what does bottom right? Bottom right gives it a more carved out look. I'm going to go for top. When you're happy, OK. And here is the filter being applied on your picture. So far, so good. So what we need to do now is to remove a piece of the jigsaw. Okay, zoom in. I'm on the Move tool right now. If you hit Control and Spacebar, you get the Zoom tool. I've got my left hand on Control and Spacebar. And then what I'll do is highlight the selection that I want to zoom on perfect. I'm up at 153% right now. I need the polygonal lasso. Here it is. It defaults to lasso. Hold down and you get this fly out. Click on polygonal lasso. And then what I'll do is lasso this entire jigsaw piece all the way around. So I start clicking, which is why you really need to be zoomed in quite well. Anytime there's a slight change of direction, if it's no longer a straight line, at that point you click the mouse. And don't worry if you don't get it absolutely perfect, because we will at the end, once we have our selection, we're going to put on a little feather effect just to cut out some of those jaggy edges. So you might want to start doing this. I'm going to keep the recording running, and you could head off, start the assignment, excuse me, and then when you hear me say I'm on the home stretch, back you come to see what to do next. And keep going round and round. It's difficult to see at this point without the Hubble telescope, which is now decommissioned. Clickety-click, straight line, and round we go. But we know where we stop. I'm talking to myself. Round and around. See that jaggy bit? I don't like that jaggy bit, but the filter, the feather effect will get rid of it. Okay, I'm on the home stretch, so you might want to rejoin us. And up I go, and then when the two lines connect, click it once. Not twice, only once. Click. Ta-da! Yay! We have our selection. Slightly jaggy effect, so I'm going to go up to select feather, and I'm going to leave a feather radius of 2 pixels on there. And it smooths out a little bit. So, we need to save this selection. And to do that, we go up to select, and then save selection. There we have it. Give it a name. P1, call it anything you like. OK. Alright, we have that. It's actually in the memory. Right, we have our selection. What we want to do is duplicate the selection. It won't be the whole layer, it's just that selection. Control J to duplicate it. Yay, you can see now that all we have left is one piece of jigsaw. Perfect. Then we have the full picture underneath that, and then below that in the background we have the grey. It's building up nicely. Right. I want you to move that piece out. So what you can do is click on the move tool, or you can hold control and it moves automatically to the move tool. Move it out of the way, and you can still see the original one peeping through below on layer 1. Okay, layer 2 is in position. Click on layer 1, and we need to delete that. But if you hit the delete key now, you get rid of the whole layer, and that is not what we want. We want only to delete that one piece of jigsaw, which we saved, if you remember. So let's go select it. Select, and then load selection immediately above where you saved it. Load selection. If you click OK at this point, you are going to select the whole layer, and we don't want that. Pull down channel, and we want P1, or whatever you call the little chap. And then OK. There, our wonderful marching ants. Only this piece is selected. Whatever we do will only apply to that one little piece. Hit the delete key. Delete, gone. Control D to deselect. And I'm going to zoom out, and you can see the effect taking shape nicely. But we need a little bit of depth, I think. Here's my move tool. A little bit of depth. Ooh, okay, layers locked. There. Nice and big. A little bit of depth, and to do that we will put a drop shadow on. So you can go up to layer, layer style, drop shadow, or making sure you're on layer 1, click down here on drop shadow. Here, these are the blending options, and they all pop up. Now you can play around in here. You've been in here before. Alternatively, watch the cursor change. As I go from the layer style palette over to the picture, it becomes the move tool. Recognize that? Now what are we going to move? Obviously we can move something. Click on the grey, and then you can start moving it around, and you can see the perspective effect taking shape. And you can do it that way, or you can throw in your numbers if you know them. I've got 179 angle, size 7. When you're happy, okay. There are the effects. Okay, now we want to do the same thing to layer 2. You could click on layer 2 and go through the whole effect again, the drop shadow, or you could copy paste the effects. If you want to do that, right click on layer 1, not on effects. Right click on layer 1 and up comes your menu, copy layer style. Click on layer 2 and we are going to right click, paste layer style. Okay, we have the same, exactly the same effect. Okay, now I'm going to rotate this piece around and then we'll have to adjust the light direction of the drop shadow. Two things to do. So edit, transform, or Control T. There you have your bounding box, and when you have the double-headed arrow which is bent, click on the mouse and rotate it round. When you're happy, there's no right or wrong. Double click to embed. Okay. So now it's rotated, but the light effect, which was perfect for a vertical piece, is no longer appropriate for a piece that is at an angle. So at this point, double click on drop shadow and up come your boundaries. And here, I'm going to pull this out the way so that you can see it. You'll see the effect. Use global light. We're going to uncheck that, and then you'll see the light source change. Click. See, it moved it. It puts it into exactly the right place for a piece at this angle. Okay. All right, this is us. That's me out at 50%. It's called puzzle.jpg. You are going to File, Save As. I'm going to shove mine on the desktop. I'm going to call it Copy. And I'm going to make sure that it is a JPEG. Okay, so we're going to have puzzle, the one that we started with, puzzle copy, the one that we're finishing with, save. And yes, we'll just go through this optimizing. Okay? Now right now you might think that you're working on puzzle copy, but you're not. You're working on puzzle.jpg. So we need to close out of puzzle. No, you don't. You do not want to save it. And then what we will do is open puzzle copy. That was our finished one. And then we also want the original one. File, open, which was called puzzle. Okay, so you have the before and the after. Right, take the move tool, drag puzzle on top of puzzle copy. Exit from puzzle. Bye-bye puzzle. Control T to transform it, and then hold the Shift key, and that will maintain the perspective of the original picture. Otherwise you could end up with a rectangle instead of a square. Now that might be a bit too small. I'm going to make it a bit bigger. Okay, when you're happy, double click. Control T to transform. Round it comes, pull it into shape. There's no right or wrong with this really. It doesn't have to be at this particular angle. Okay, double click. And then just to finish it off, I'm going to put a nice little drop shadow on layer 1. You might want to put a bevel effect. Let's see what a bevel does. Bevel and emboss. Ooh, I like it, I like it, I like it. Alright, and that's what you save. Control S to save. Puzzle copy. As a JPEG, we get rid of those layers, and yes, we do want to replace it. Okay, so you have 2 of these to do in a web page. Thank you very much.